What's up, everybody? It's Alan's Movie Talk, back at it again. Yesterday, Paramount decided to reveal some insane cast announcements for Scream 7, so let's talk about it. I'm usually not someone who likes to make videos every time there is some type of casting announcement or any really movie news unless it is huge. And the news that we got yesterday was so big that there was no reason why I couldn't make a longer video and talk about this. So it was revealed yesterday that both Scott Foley and Matthew Lillard will be returning in the upcoming Scream 7 as Roman Bridger and Stu. My initial reaction to, first I went to go see Presents yesterday, and I got the notification about Scott Foley right before I was about to walk into the theater. So that wasn't exactly the best timing because I was getting into, the frame of mind to go see Presents and see that movie and, talk about it after the fact. But my initial thought to that was, holy crap, what's going on here? And honestly, my initial thought was that he's probably coming back as a ghost, like how Billy was in Scream 5 and 6. So I didn't really pay too much attention to it. I mean, I know this movie has had quite a lot of controversy, with how it handled the Melissa Barrera situation. So I didn't really think a lot of it. And then, I got home from seeing Presents, recorded my review, was editing it, and then got hit with the notification about Matthew Lillard. And for me, I am a lifelong Scream fan. For anyone who knows me, that is my favorite horror franchise of all time. The original Scream is my favorite horror movie of all time. And I saw it at such a young age that it, molded my love for movies and horror movies to the point where, if it wasn't for Scream, I wouldn't be doing this. I mean, I really don't think I would have, because that franchise just affected me at such a young age and molded what I look for and what I love about films. So when I heard that Matthew Lillard was back as Stu, I couldn't help but be extremely, extremely excited about it. Now, if you go back and, you look on my TikTok, I had posted an instant reaction to it because I just felt in that moment, once I felt the joy, I was like, hey, I gotta pull out my camera and just react to this. And I found myself not even really able to muster many words besides, oh my God, what is going on? So, that's kind of my history with the Scream franchise. It's something that just means so much to me. And Stu is one of my favorite ghost faces of the entire series. I really believe that he actually gets overshadowed by Billy Loomis way too much. I think he deserves a lot of credit for the work that he did, specifically, Matthew Lillard's job that he did acting. So I was just elated. I was so excited when I got that news and I heard that he would be coming back for Scream 7. And then I wanted to take some time and sit on it for 24 hours before I actually, came on here and made a video and continued to talk about it and what I think it means for the movie, and maybe some theories going forward. Now, before I get into my theories of what I think this means for Scream 7 and what I think, the plot of that film is going to be now with these casting announcements, I really wanted to talk about, the original Scream 3 script when Kevin Williamson was still attached to write it. Because not a lot of people understand, for, lifelong Scream fans like myself, why this is exciting news. And, it's exciting news in general just because Matthew Lillard's back. And, a lot of people, even if he's not their favorite Ghostface, think he is one of the best Ghostface that we've ever had. But that original, a lot of people don't know this. I've had conversations with people who are longtime fans of the franchise. But but a lot of people don't know that Matthew Lillard was originally slated to come back as Stu in Scream 3 when Kevin Williamson was initially attached to direct. Or not to direct, I'm sorry. He was still initially attached to write Scream 3 and then eventually dropped out. And essentially, and Matthew Lillard has confirmed this himself. He confirmed that, essentially the plot of the film was that it was going to be revealed, and it was probably going to be in the back half of Scream 3, that Stu Macher had survived and was in prison after the events of the first film, and was essentially orchestrating a cult of ghost faces who were mostly high school kids that were carrying out the murders of Scream 3. There was a lot of other elements of the film that were pretty similar to what we ended up getting in Scream 3, but there were some changes. A lot of the details, too, have, never actually been fully revealed because, again, this was a movie that never really started filming. It never really made it past the script. But it was far enough ahead in production that Matthew Lillard was actually paid to have appeared in Scream 3, and it just never happened. So, a lot of the people who, put out videos and was, championing the Stu is alive theories are just feeling vindicated right now. And, I'm going to talk about what I think that him returning and what Roman returning all means for this film. And it might not mean that. He might not be alive, but just the fact that he is coming back, again, vindicates a lot of people who have for years have been told that this was never going to happen. He's dead. Leave it alone. So, for me, that's just incredible. Because for a long time, I believed that. And a part of me still kind of does. And a part of me thinks that's what they're going to do in this film. But there are other theories that I think actually make a little bit more sense. And then obviously there have been some leaks about what more than likely is going to happen. So either way, like me and so many others, I can't help but just to be excited about this news. There's really nothing, like I get all the controversy that happened with this film and, the unjust firing of Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega leaving. There was a lot of controversy, and I understand why people are going to think that this is just the studio trying to save face and bring back the people that they, screwed over essentially by getting rid of the two leads. But it's just hard for me not to be excited about this news. So, with all that being said, and that very long-winded start to this video, I am going to go ahead and talk about the 3 theories that I think that this means for Scream 7. And I'm going to do them from third to first in what I think is the most likely to happen. And of these, these are the 3 theories I think I'm pretty certain that one of these 3 theories are going to happen. And in the likelihood that I think they're going to happen in. So the third theory, the least likely, I think, and the least likely that I hope does not happen, truthfully, I really don't want this to happen, is that Scott Foley and Matthew Lillard are coming back to essentially be Ghostface visions for Sidney Prescott, like we got with Sam's character in Scream 5 and 6 with Billy. For me, that would be the one that would probably actively anger me, because it would just feel like a nostalgia bait, member berries, dangling in front of us by Paramount. And to me, wouldn't actually contribute to a better story or contribute to the plot in any reasonable way. Yeah, I didn't even like it, honestly, in Scream 5 and 6 when they did that with Billy. I understand, I guess, from a story perspective, but I feel like it was kind of done cheaply. It looked bad, right? The CGI and de-aging on Billy didn't look great. And I don't think you really necessarily needed it in the story. I understand that it was to frame Sam as someone who is not in the right mindset, who could be a little bit unhinged. But I just did not feel that it was necessary, and I don't feel like it was executed properly. So if that is the sole reason that, Stu and Roman are coming back, and you can kind of lump into if it's going to have the ghost flashes for Sydney and then also some flashbacks, that wouldn't really make me satisfied with them coming back in that manner. And then the theory that I think is going to come in at number 2 here, and the one that I don't think is the least likely or the most likely to happen, but is the theory that is my personal favorite, and the one that I think from a narrative perspective would make the most sense, is that this film is going to be the new Nightmare version of Scream. This is going to be a film where all the killers, all the actors, all the major characters in the Scream franchise are going to be playing themselves as actors, like how it was in New Nightmare. And there is going to be a killer who is trying to create the movies in the real world. And for me, the reason that I like this theory the most, and it makes the most sense, is that Scream in its movies has always been a franchise that has been able to ground itself in reality. Yes, there are certain things that have happened in the franchise, certain kills, certain sequences that make you suspend disbelief a little bit. But for the most part, this franchise, 6 movies in, has not jumped the gun on unbelievability. So for me, if you take the New Nightmare approach for Scream 7, that will allow the Roman coming back, the Stu coming back, possibly Jill coming back, everybody coming back to make sense and to not resurrect dead characters, because regardless of what a lot of people think, the movies have established that these characters are dead. And it allows for the movie universe of Scream that we've gotten in the first 6 films to contain itself and still sustain that believability. Now, I understand that this scenario would be kind of like a cop-out because it's not really Stu, it's not really Sidney, it's not really any of them. But Scream is such a meta franchise and goes down the meta path so much that I only feel like because of all the controversy surrounding this film so far and how, Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega left the project, this is the best way to make a movie with all these characters back and to not affect the legacy of those last 2 films and keep the universe still with the grounded tone that it's always had. So for me, this is the way that I think that they can do this film, and it pretty much make most people happy. I mean, maybe the Stu is alive people. I talked about how they felt vindicated when this news come out, and maybe that would disappoint them. And I was in that camp for a long time. I would say I still am. But it's not something I'm like, hey, this needs to happen. So for me, a new Nightmare approach to Scream 7 would actually, I think, be the best way to approach this. So yeah, that to me is the one that I'm hoping for, but I don't think it's the most likely. And then coming in at number 1, and what I think is the most likely that's going to happen, and I'm basing this off of leaks and things that have been reported online. So if you don't want to know anything about Scream 7 and any of the details that are out there, that are a possibility, don't watch the rest of this video. So I'm going to talk about that now. The leading theory and the thing that some of the leakers online have said is that the characters are all going to be coming back, and it's going to be more of the killers, too, that are going to be announced here soon. Is going to be done through AI and deepfakes. So essentially, the killers of this film are going to be using AI to use the voices of these killers, maybe make videos with these killers to torment and mess with Sidney, and use that. Now, this theory, I would say I still prefer and think the New Nightmare way is probably the best way to handle this and to handle this whole situation. But this theory can work for me, but the only way it can work is if it is revealed by the end of the film that one of the killers is still alive and is the one orchestrating this, one of the previous killers. So It can't be Roman, and that I kind of wanted to talk about that New Nightmare. Roman being alive would be this franchise jumping the shark because that man was shot point blank in the head with a gun. He's dead. There's nothing that you could do to justify that. Stu, I think you could justify, it's stretching credibility a little bit, but I think you could still justify that somehow he did survive getting the TV thrown on his head in Scream 1. Jill, I think you could justify that too, because if I remember correctly, I think she got shot like in the neck area or in the chest or something like that. So you can say, hey, it didn't hit the heart, so she was able to live. But pretty much any other Ghostface killer in this franchise, you can't really justify it because they all pretty much died very violent and excessive deaths. Whether that's being shot in the head, whether that's being stabbed 55 times like Richie and his throat slit, or Amber getting lit on fire and then shot in the head. It's like every other Ghostface besides Stu and Jill have had an excessive death where, like, there's no way you can justify them coming back. So for me, if it's probably going to be between, in this theory, if it's the AI and them messing with Sydney, but then it's revealed that there is, one person who did come back and is the mastermind of this, it can only be Stu or Jill for me. And if that's what they're going with, I obviously believe it's probably going to be Stu. Just because why bring him back? Why do all this when people have been longing for it for so long for it not to be Stu? So I like that theory. Now, and I've heard that that's what they're doing. Not the part about, it being the one returning killer, but with the AI and everything. And if they do it that way, I can really appreciate that and really enjoy that and actually get some satisfaction off that. But I won't really like it, though, if it's just new killers using AI and deepfake with all of the old killers and none of them return. That will be disappointing to me. So, yeah. So those are the three theories I have, and one of those three possibilities are going to happen to me. I especially with some of the leaks that kind of cooperate that one. I'd be very surprised if nothing else, or if anything else besides those three happened. I mean, if they do, then Kevin Williamson is is going to do a good job leading this film, and leading. I don't know how long they plan on extending the series after this, but for me, I really want this to be a finale for the original characters. Why I was so disappointed with the departure of Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega was because of the fact that Scream 6 had finally made me care about all those characters to the point where I said, these characters can lead this franchise, and we can finally let Sydney, let Gail rest, essentially, and live their life. So that was what was very disappointing to me. So if we continue, I don't want to continue this. Like, that's just where I'm at with it. And I love Sydney, my favorite final girl of all time. But she can only do this for so long, and it still keep that credibility and that groundness in the real world. So, all right, guys. I know this is a long video. I know I'm going on about this. But again, I love Scream, so I could talk about this for hours. If you have any theories, if you think I'm right, or if you agree, you disagree, please comment below. I really want to have discussions about this because I really want to see what other people are thinking, and maybe I'm crazy and I have no clue what I'm talking about. I just want to have conversations, so comment below. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. And yeah, this is going to be a long year. This is going to be a long year until Scream 7 releases, so yeah. All right, everyone. Have a great night.